Releasing the self that's already gone. Welcome back to the Soul Potential CEO podcast. This is season 2, Living as Magic, a journey into the real frequency of power, transformation, and remembering who you are beyond performance. If you've been in a cycle of reinvention, if you feel like you're standing between versions of yourself, if you're sensing that something has ended, but you haven't quite named it yet, this episode is your invitation to cross the threshold. Today, we're talking about one of the most essential, overlooked, and spiritually advanced concepts that I know of. Not because understanding this makes you more enlightened than anyone else, but because of the technical and mechanical purpose it serves in our journey as evolving consciousness. Releasing expired selves. Learning how to grieve, alchemize, and honor the identities that once protected you actually requires a lot of energy and focus. And I find that many people who are on the journey of being soul-led and energy-informed tend to get really stuck in this one place. Because the truth that most people skip is that nobody talks about identity shifting. You don't just let go of who you used to be as a mental practice, in a weekend workshop, in a meditation, or in a healing. When you outgrow an old version of yourself, you must set aside time to grieve them. Without the grief, you stay entangled in their patterns. You'll carry their choices. You'll whisper their doubts, even as you try to embody something new. Because identity is more than just a mental story. It's an energetic structure. And when it's no longer aligned, it becomes residue. The science of identity attachment. Let's ground this in biology for a moment. Your identity is coded through repetition, through neural patterns, hormonal responses, and reinforcement loops. The brain prefers what's familiar, even if it's painful. Why? Well, because it perceives change as a threat to your survival. So every time you try to shift into a new identity, into a new way of showing up online, more expressive in your business, a new energetic standard, a new version of yourself, your system will ping the danger alarm unless you've trained it otherwise. And if you haven't created space, ritual, language, emotional clarity to say goodbye to your past self, you'll just keep defaulting back to them. Now, from an esoteric lens, identity is a mask your soul wears to deliver its message. But your soul is not static. It wants to evolve through you. And when you've completed a cycle, it becomes louder about what no longer fits. This is where we start to experience discomfort on our journey, and oftentimes we'll call that resistance. It's also why you might feel invisible in your work. You might feel resistance to offers that used to light you up. You might feel like people aren't responding to your truth. And the solution isn't always strategy. Sometimes it's just identity lag. You're living from a structure that no longer mirrors who you are. So what does it take to release an expired self? It requires ceremony so that your body and field can register the shift. It requires discernment so that you can separate what's yours to carry from what's ready to go. And it requires integration so you don't swing into collapse or reinventing yourself out of panic. It also requires a different kind of strength, the strength to not rush into your next persona, to sit in the liminal field between versions without reaching for a mask. This is where your magic reorganizes itself. This is also where true identity innovation begins. Because identity is not a box you find and live inside of. In fact, outdated identities feel like prisons. They feel like the limited cages that our soul knows it was not designed to exist inside of. Our truest nature lives in a series of fluid living codes, expressions of a soul that rise and fall based on season, signal, and expansion. And when you don't let go, when it's time, if you cling to a role, to a title, to a way of being that once made sense but now feels like a costume stitched from old programming, you will always feel like you're in a state where you're being stretched. But identity shifting is not meant to feel constrictive, difficult, raw, or exhausting. It's actually your most natural way to be. I want to invite you into an experience. Avatar, the Identity Quest, is a new portal of teachings and experiences designed for soul-led creators, energy-informed entrepreneurs, and multidimensional beings ready to reorient their relationship with identity. Our first transmission, the Identity Shift, is a 21-day challenge that includes a ceremonial initiation, one that clears the distortion, dissolves expired masks, and stabilizes the self as a sacred container for soul evolution. Inside this challenge-style event, you will come to peace with past versions of yourself, learn how to grieve and release outdated identities, ground into a new inner architecture that can hold your magic. Prepare to navigate identity portals and quantum shifts with clarity and power. Anchor your I am in a way that strengthens your manifestation field, business, and reality creation. Most people struggle in their soul work not because they lack gifts, but because their identity is unstable. The soul is identityless, pure presence, pure potential, but the human experience needs an anchor. The identity shift is that anchor. Join us as we begin the quest. You can find information about this live event inside of the show notes, and I look forward to seeing you there.